Some monsters arrive with a name. Others arrive with a title. In Dracula Untold, the being trapped inside the mountain is never called by a personal name. He is simply the master vampire, portrayed with quiet menace by Charles Dance. That creative decision tells you everything about what he is supposed to represent. Not a character, a legacy, not a man, a consequence. The film presents him as older than empires, older than the Ottoman expansion, possibly older than the medieval world itself. He lives in a cavern carved into living rock, surrounded by bones and memory. No court, no coffin, no servants, just isolation and patience. This is not the aristocratic vampire of castles and velvet. This is the fossil layer beneath the myth. What we actually know about him inside the canon is surprisingly small, but carefully chosen. He was once human. He accepted vampirism to win a war. The power worked, but the cost transformed him into something uncontrollable. Other powers sealed him inside the mountain using a silver prison anchored to the stone itself. Sunlight cannot kill him, but he cannot leave. He is effectively quarantined from history. Already the movie quietly establishes hierarchy. Vampirism is not a single condition. It evolves. Vlad becomes a descendant of a lineage, a diluted echo of something purer and older. The master vampire behaves differently from almost every modern depiction of the creature. He does not hunger uncontrollably. He does not rage. He does not even try to escape desperately. He waits calmly, as if centuries mean nothing. His greatest weapon is not strength. It is certainty. He understands exactly what he is and exactly what Vlad will become. Most vampires fear loneliness. He accepts it. The transformation did not merely corrupt him, it completed him. One of the most plausible theories is that he represents an earlier form of the Dracula myth, not the Count, but the prototype behind the folklore. Historically, Eastern European vampire legends did not originally involve elegant nobles. They described ancient revenants tied to battlefields, cursed warriors, or leaders who sacrificed humanity for victory. The master vampire fits that archaic mold perfectly. A warlord who chose survival over soul. Notice the wording he uses with Vlad. He does not tempt him with pleasure. He tempts him with necessity, protection, victory. Duty. He speaks like someone who has already justified his own fall countless times. He is not trying to trick Vlad, he is trying to prove a philosophy, that power and morality cannot coexist when survival is at stake. In that sense, the cave becomes symbolic. It is less a prison and more a containment of an idea humanity fears. The belief that monstrous choices are sometimes rational. Another popular theory suggests he might be a predecessor figure inspired by historical rulers who gained monstrous reputations after death. Folklore often turned feared conquerors into supernatural beings. The master vampire could represent a composite, the first ruler who weaponized terror so effectively that memory transformed him into something inhuman. Over centuries, the man fades and the monster remains. But there is a darker reading. He may not be trapped by enemies. He may be trapped by balance. Look closely at the rules shown in the film. Vampirism grants overwhelming dominance, superhuman speed, control over animals, resistance to weapons, near invulnerability. If such a being walked freely across history, civilizations would not form normally. The story implies the world itself reacts to excess. Silver binds him, sunlight weakens Vlad. Blood dependency limits expansion. These function less like curses and more like natural counterweights. The master vampire is what happens when the balance fails. He is evolution without restraint. Vlad, by contrast, is a controlled infection. Temporary power, conditional damnation. The universe allows him because he still has a choice. The master vampire has passed beyond choice entirely. He has become a fixed constant in the world's supernatural ecosystem and therefore must remain sealed. This interpretation explains his patience. He does not attempt escape because time will eventually solve his imprisonment. Every generation produces desperate leaders. Eventually, one will accept the bargain fully and release him willingly. He is not waiting for freedom, he is waiting for inevitability. The film subtly hints at this when he shows no surprise at Vlad's arrival. He behaves less like a prisoner meeting a rescuer and more like a teacher meeting a student he always knew would come. There is also the intriguing possibility that he remembers a world before structured religion defined good and evil. His morality is alien. He does not view vampirism as damnation. Humans do. To him, it is ascension stripped of comforting illusions. Hunger replaces hypocrisy. Power replaces negotiation. Eternity replaces legacy. And that perspective infects Vlad. Throughout the story, Vlad constantly frames his actions as sacrifice. The master vampire never uses that word. To him, the transformation is not martyrdom, it is acceptance of reality. When threatened with extinction, creatures adapt or perish. Vampires simply adapt more honestly than humans. Some viewers believe he is intended as a proto-Dracula, the myth before the man history remembers. Not Vlad's ancestor, but Vlad's future echo. A loop of legend where each era creates its own dark savior, eventually reduced to rumor and imprisoned by memory. The cave becomes not just a location, but a narrative graveyard, where history buries truths too frightening to keep alive. And then there is the final, unsettling theory. The master vampire is not the origin of vampirism. He is the last survivor of something older. His calm implies familiarity with cycles beyond human scale. He never expresses curiosity about the outside world. He never asks about kingdoms or languages, as if civilizations blur together after enough centuries. If he has seen empires rise and collapse repeatedly, then he predates not only Vlad's time, but possibly the entire cultural framework through which humans interpret monsters. That would make him less a creature of darkness and more a relic of a previous age of the world, a time when predation was not hidden behind morality. The Silver Prison would then represent humanity's first successful rebellion against beings stronger than itself. not a punishment. A boundary marker between eras, which transforms the entire story. Vlad does not become a monster. He briefly reconnects the present to a prehistoric terror. The master vampire never demands worship, never claims dominion, never promises glory. He offers truth. Power removes the need for permission. That idea alone makes him more dangerous than any physical ability. Strength fades, armies die, but a philosophy survives through those desperate enough to accept it. By the end, Vlad walks back into the world carrying diluted darkness, able to love, able to restrain himself. The master vampire remains behind, unchanged, eternal, patient. The difference between them defines the tragedy of the film. Vlad is a man using monstrosity. The master vampire is monstrosity that no longer remembers being a man, and perhaps that is why he has no name. Names belong to individuals. Titles belong to forces. He is not the first vampire, nor the last. He is the shape vampirism takes when stripped of romance, guilt, and theatrics. Survival perfected until humanity becomes optional. A king fights for his people. A monster feeds on them. The master vampire exists beyond both, waiting in the dark not for victims, but for successors.